Ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen mostly, welcome to the panel. This panel and the following presentations will have to make you think about and make us think about how data will be handled in the upcoming 5 years, let's say. We are approaching artificial intelligence and data governance related questions. And as we have not much time left, it's a little bit more than 12 minutes. I'm not going to spend time on presenter's bio, so please check it through the application that you have uploaded on your phones. Just a very quick introduction. We have Udo Schneider from Trend Micro here. We have David Aviv of Radware, if I know that correctly. And we have Roman Cupka from Flowmon Networks. Welcome, thank you for coming. As I just said, the question we are approaching somehow is how we can handle that enormous amount of data in the upcoming, let's say, 5 years' time that we are facing, okay? Some highlights. What about vulnerabilities that are as valuable as gold for some people? Who are these people?
Well, to make a long story short, there are two types of people for which vulnerabilities are interesting. The first one are classical cyber criminals, which use them as an, let's say, initial attack vector to deploy their payloads. And because they're making money out of those infections, they are willing to pay for those exploits in both ways. And the other, let's say, the other, maybe even more dangerous kind of, let's say, interested parties in vulnerabilities are vulnerability brokers who are reselling them to a highest bidder without actually disclosing them to the vendors. So those are two parties which we have to deal with in the future. Okay, next one. We have a kind of historical approach to data as well. How do you see, David, how do you see that kind of approach? How can you use it in your AI solutions in the upcoming future?
Tough question, anyhow. As we saw, as actually was stated there, the good guys, the good and the bad guys. So what we are trying to do is to find new ways how to utilize AI to solve problems. Now, the question is AI suited to solve all the security, the cyber questions? At least in my session, I'm trying to shed a light and explain where it can be effective, what are the merits, and where it's not effective. And more of that. I think that the tendency of the industry today is to use a lot of big data and AI on top of it, machine learning, deep learning, which is definitely capable to solve a lot of issues. But the question we should ask ourselves, isn't it too complicated? Because if we look at it, we need to upload enormous amount of data into the cloud. Usually we use cloud factories and then use it, etc. So might be that if we change the way we look at the problem, we can come up with a completely different approach to solve the problem.
Thank you. Roman, a follow-up question after this to you. Previously, we had a very brief discussion on that you also work with an enormous amount of data. Do you have any technical governance ideas on how you and your solutions can handle this?
Sure. So first, we need to say how to, let's say, collect the data properly and how to analyze the data, also regarding to new models of AI, also regarding to cybersecurity, for example. And how to provide the policies and the controls of this kind of the data collection and analysis for any reason. We are, let's say, from our perspective, using the data information together with AI operations for analyzing the security incidents, avoiding the standard security mechanism in real time, which is also demanding and requesting from the legal perspective. So, how to collect and analyze data properly and provide it in real time, this is more important for us.
Okay, thank you. Now, what you have already mentioned for me, is mostly related to currently used concepts. So this is how we approach the problem nowadays, mostly, most probably. How do you see that in the future? So what happens if data practically overflows us and artificial intelligence solutions that we apply now in our year overflow us? What happens then?
I would say there are a few things that might happen, and I'm not talking that, let's say, that horror Skynet scenario of the future, just a bit more down to earth. I think one of the main problems that we're facing is, I mean, up to now, most of the security technology, most of the IT technology is made by humans. So at the end of the day, somebody is responsible, whether it's a company, whether it's a developer, whatever. If we're talking about a lot of AI models, you can't really pinpoint anymore why a specific, let's say, trained neural network or a machine learning algorithm comes to a specific decision. So if this decision is bad, if this decision, let's say, results in making the worst case scenario, loss of life, who is responsible? Is it the one who actually, let's say, wrote the algorithms? Is it the one who trained the machine? Is it the one who actually let the algorithm do the decision which did harm in the real world? These are, let's say, non-technical things where we need to come up with some kind of guidance, because we will have those scenarios in the future, because as humans we can't deal with that big data. We have to do it in an, let's say, algorithmic, automatic, AI, KI, whatever way. And if we come to that point in time, we need to have some kind of guidance how to proceed, because we will need those answers in the future.
What you are talking about is a kind of ethical approach, if I understand you perfectly. Yeah, David, any ideas on it?
Yeah, there are a lot of ethical issues, as you know today, and I completely agree with the fact that when it comes to the combat zone, on the new technologies that are used in combat, could they kill, and you know, those kind of things. But on top of it, look on what's going on in the autonomous car industry. The autonomous car industry is utilizing a lot of AI, KI technologies, and there's a big debate in the Silicon Valley whether or not AI is going to be dangerous to the humankind or not dangerous to the humankind. It's now an ongoing debate. Fortunately enough, I think we are just in the early stages, the infancy. Because remember, what we have done up to today, AI technologies were used mainly for recognition, facial recognition, more deterministic operations, or neural network, neural language. And now we are trying to take it to the next level.
You mean China and the social credit system?
Exactly, and other things that, you know, you can easily train a network and do other nasty things with that. But by the end of the day, it's about data. What is the quality of your data? So when it goes to identify a cat or a dog, it's relatively easy. Put a cat, you put a dog, you train, and you have a neural network classifier. But when you need to apply some knowledge, some thinking, there's no training for that yet.
Okay, let me pose you another question. Can you turn AI to understand knowledge and one step above? Is AI capable to provide wisdom in the upcoming future?
You're asking two tough questions.
Sorry about it. It's my style.
Yeah,
apologize.
there are research going on those issues. And as I said, I believe that the twist will be different in the way we look at the problem.
How different?
I'll give you an example. Are there electrical engineering guys here in the audience? No one.
Any electric engineers? Hands up, please. 1, 2,
so I'll give you,
3.
Don't be ashamed, you can raise the hand. So, you know, give you just an example, a teaser. There are many problems of time series that you look at the time domain, and you try to analyze in the time domain. And some of them are easy, some of them are tough. So, a couple of 100 years ago, a French mathematician called Fourier created a transformation between time and frequency. So a very complicated problem in the time domain can be very easy problem in the frequency domain. So today's status, and we thank all the vendor community or the research, we are looking on the problem on a certain way, uploading a lot of data, trying to find what we call MBI, malicious behavior indicator, and we are applying tons of artificial intelligence to correlate, which is okay.
Let me interrupt you here at this point. Roman, I think we have time for a last question. Can you elaborate on what data means for you?
We have two aspects of term of the data. What let's say actually is for me from the personal approach. It's the privacy. Firstly, from the let's say governance approach, also privacy, but also really efficient framework which could be used with any kind of the automation or classification assets to monetize this kind of the data for any kind of the businesses approaches or other approaches. So first,
sorry, let me help you here. You mentioned a very, very important concept that I think, monetizing data. Can you give it a value?
That is also a tough question because it depends of maybe any kind of the AI could calculate this kind of the value of the monetizing of the data. It is very difficult to provide by myself. So it depends. And also it affects the personal feeling about the monetization of the data. So it's probably a question on AI tools more than for me was the value of it, value as any kind of the numbers or something like that.
So monetizing data is quite difficult even now. Right, we have a couple of seconds left. So can you please formulate one sentence to your audience that they can have as a take-on from this discussion? Udo, just one sentence.
Just one sentence. Don't trust Greeks with gifts.
Thank you. David?
You need to fight fire with fire.
Fight fire with fire?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. Roman?
Just protect your data assets so much as possible. So that's all.
Thank you, Jens. It was lovely to talk to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.